They know. Hello, and we're back for week 2 of the Hall of Fame Huddle live broadcast with John Bazika. John, how you been, buddy?
Good. Got to see my first game of the year, and it was a fun experience despite COVID and everything. Still got to see some girls basketball, and glad that we're playing games and starting to get into the heart of some of these schedules. So it was a fun week, and hope you. I know you saw about like 7 games since we last talked.
It was a busy week last week, that's for sure. Maybe 6.
I know. Yeah, I know you're everywhere. You're always at a game.
Well, I'm definitely taking a break this week. I need to do more food delivery, or Mackenzie's going to go without Christmas presents this year. So
there you go.
I'll give it a week. But, I need to take a page out of Kenny Rhoda's book before we get started. And like I said, I forgot to do this last week, but it is nice to have John Bazika on this broadcast. Opa!
There it is.
Next time I'm going to tell him to listen to see so he can grade me on how I do.
That will never die. Kenny started something that will never die. It's a fun thing that he did. So,
well, we got a good show on tap for today. We got Mike Stadoulis from Marlington. They came up with a huge win yesterday against West Branch. Man, I don't even know. I've tried to do some research. I can't find the last time that Marlington beat West Branch. So we're going to, hopefully he can answer that for us. But I'm pretty sure that it's probably been pretty close to 10 years.
Well, I know that a couple years ago when Coach Leeser took over at Canton South, they had a similar streak of times that they had lost to West Branch, and then they ended that year. They beat them obviously at home that season. I think they might have even beaten them on the road that year. But West Branch has been king of the EBC for how many years? I mean, going back to when it was still the MBC, they dominate girls basketball, and they've even had a really good softball program a couple of years in there. So they're always a tough team to get by. But good to see the Marlingtons challenging this year, and I think you said it last week. It could be an early look at a team that could make it to a district final in Marlington.
Yeah, I mean they've looked really good. I've seen them twice. I saw them beat up on Boardman, which is a big Division I school. They beat Copley. They beat Dalton, who are both quality opponents. And then obviously yesterday beating West Branch, and we'll talk to Mike about that. But there's a big game coming up with them and Northwest here in a couple weeks. Hopefully we can get some WHPC coverage on that one.
We will certainly see what the calendar is able to provide. I need to see if maybe we can plug to that game. As I was saying to you, that would be a really good one with Coach Lauer in his second year, and as we had talked about last week, returning basically everything except for just a couple kids. Northwest, the fact that they hung with Jackson like they did, that says everything you need to know about them.
Oh yeah, they're tough. I definitely want to get Lauer on the show here, and not too long, because he's definitely taken a program and done some really good things with them. Let's talk about last week we had Coach Butch on here, and we kind of previewed the game with Glen Oak. That was a game that you covered for WHBC. What did you see, John? What did you think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was kind of one of those games that it was early in the year for both teams still. Glen Oak's trying to kind of figure out who they are and what they want to be, and I think Jackson is doing a bit of the same thing. I think some of the constant things that we're going to see probably every time those two teams play is, Breezy Williams starts to get going. She's very difficult to stop, and she can work as a catalyst for that team to take them as far as they probably want to go. And if Jordan Weir is more effective underneath and doesn't miss many layups, then, as Coach Butch said to me last week, they're, darn near unstoppable on offense. The key with them is making sure that the role players step up. If you get, Kleptach and Metz and some of the other girls coming off the bench to play well. And then, honestly, the wild card is Anaya Hall. If Anaya Hall plays up to her full potential, it's probably scary how good that team could be this year. Now, on the other side for Jackson, they're missing Lauren Pilata. She, without a doubt, is I think I could say probably their most talented player. She's just able to do a little bit of everything so well for them, and the fact that she plays with the high level intensity that she does, and she has the great basketball genes, I guess you could say, with both brothers being really good and dad being good and grandpa being good. I mean, so losing her on the floor, it was noticeable that they didn't have her. They could have used someone else to handle the ball and get things started offensively. And the fact that they stuck around like they did, Lena Padavandela in the first half was extremely effective. She kind of quieted down in the second half, but they get that out of her, and then you throw Lauren back into the mix. Again, they have Dayton type of aspirations for them. They have that level of talent.
Well, here's my two things. Clearly Lauren, I think Lauren is possibly the best player in the league. So obviously she's definitely a top 2 or 3. So losing her for a couple games is definitely not helping Jackson, but they'll get her back in the lineup. They'll have a second shot at Hoover and Glen Oak. I don't think the league is over by any stretch. I think that it could really come down to a 2, maybe even 3 team tie, because I don't think there is a top team that's going to go undefeated like last year's Jackson team. And I think there's legitimately 4 teams that could beat anybody on any given night. So I think it's going to come down to the last couple games of the season. And with Glen Oak, I know Anaya Hall had a really good second half, but I think the key for that was Breezy Williams really got going. And I think, not to take anything away from Anaya, but I think Breezy kind of got Anaya moving. She had a couple good dishes in the third to set Anaya up for easy layups. And then Anaya took it from there. So you kind of touched on it, but, Breezy's probably, in my mind, the most dynamic player on that team. And if she's not going, I don't know that Anaya can necessarily, or even Jordan Weir can necessarily get going on their own without her. So we'll see. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that's where, players like Metz and Kleptach come in so big, is that if they can come close to filling the roles that, let's say, that Lemire and Green had last year, which is a tall task for anybody to replace those.
Mm-hmm.
They were, really good ball players, but if they can come close to that, and they can start to handle the offense a little bit on their own and have a night of their own where they kind of go off, it kind of sags some pressure away from, everyone always focusing on Breezy, everyone always focusing on Anaya. And I didn't realize this until I looked at the stats, Rich, but Anaya had like 5 assists too. I mean,
mm-hmm.
she, underrated parts of her game. I mean, obviously, we know what she can do on the block and how she can score, but, she's got great court vision too. And I mean, I know Kent State kind of pulled the commitment from her, but she's without a doubt a Division I level player when she's healthy. So, I know last year going into the year, we said she was probably the best player in the conference last year, and she got hurt and was kind of robbed of that. So I know that she's hungry for it this year.
Well, I'll say Anaya last year and even the year before, I mean, she relied a lot on her athleticism, which is elite. What I saw from her Friday night was, I mean, she hit a couple jump shots. She made some really nice drives to the basket. She has definitely, despite the injury, kind of gone towards more of a skill set than just relying on her athleticism, which is kind of scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. If you can, that's the big key with her. If she can develop that 15, 16-foot jump shot and force defenses to have to come out and cover her and not just worry about Weir underneath, and then she can use her athleticism to get by her defender, that's where Glen Oak becomes scary. That's where that, we talked about that 3-headed monster last week, but that's where, Weir, Williams, and the Hall can be so dangerous, just because they all bring such a different skill set. And if they're all functioning at a high level and you have the shooters on the outside, I mean, just like last year, I I kind of felt the sky was the limit for them last year if they could get going, and I still kind of feel that way this year. I know you and I have some of our disagreements and reservations about that, but I mean, I definitely think it's there. I think they have everything that they had last year, and it's just a matter of piecing it together. And as I've said before, if you have Paul Wackerly on one side of the sideline, I like my chances if I'm Glen Oak.
Yeah, and last thing on Glen Oak, I agree that the top three are really good. Breezy, Anaya, and Jordan. I mean, they're going to get theirs. My concerns are with the role players. I mean, last night or Friday night, Kleptach stepped up to hit some threes, big threes, back to back. But they have to get contributions out of her and Metz, like you said, and then a couple of other kids off the bench as well. If they can, then yeah, the ceiling's still pretty high.
Yeah.
Before we move on to Marlington, I wanted to bring up a team that we should definitely start talking about a little more. It's not necessarily in Canton, but it directly affects some schools that you're going to cover in our area. CVCA is really good. And I haven't necessarily been a buyer on CVCA up until recently, but those kids play so stinking hard. They have no height. Their biggest kid that actually gets, more than 2 minutes a game is probably 5'8", 5'9", maybe. But they're loaded with guards, and they just play so hard. They shoot the ball really well.
Yeah, we saw them. We saw them last year. You and I were at that same game between them and Tuslaw, and I think the girl's name is Casalanova.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and I mean, she just, she controlled that game. I mean, I've seen guards that are able to control games and make shots and do things like that, but she was doing stuff that I think she was only like a sophomore or a freshman last year, I think.
Yeah, freshman last year.
Yeah, and I mean, she was doing things that like a 3-year experienced, junior or senior would do. Just because she's such a headsy player. I mean, she knows how to draw contact. She knows how to get to the basket. She knows how to, dish it to the corners and do everything that she's supposed to do. And, I thought they were impressive last year. And I know that part of the reason why they made it up on your radar is because of what they did to hang with Highland like they did. And the fact that they did that, that's huge. There's very few teams in any division that can hang with Highland, let alone CVCA. So, that's a big game for them. That's a big confidence builder for them as a program and for Coach O'Keefe. I
mean, their resume so far this year, and they lost to Perry, which Perry is 5-0 up on the lake. They're a solid team. First game, anything can happen. They beat Hoban at Hoban. They hung with Highland at Highland. And I mean, not only hung with them, they had the lead for 80% of the game. Wow. They go yesterday. They played St. Joseph Academy out of Cleveland. Very, very good team with a lot of talent. They beat them. They come back down. I think they were down double digits. They come back and they beat them by 15 or so. This team is for real. We're definitely going to get Andy O'Toole on here and talks at some point. I know that they're going to keep ripping off some good games, so we're going to keep them in mind. But right now, we are going to move to Marlington. We have Coach DeDulis ready to come on, and like I said before, they just beat West Branch yesterday. They held West Branch scoreless in the fourth quarter. It was 25-24 going into the fourth quarter. Marlington held West Branch scoreless and won. Man, I want to say 38-24.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Mike can give me some kind of an idea. That's my burning question. When is the last time Marlington has beat West Branch? Hopefully.
As I said, I think that's like, that's not just a Marlington question. That's a lot of teams' question in that EBC. When the last time was that they not only beat West Branch, but consistently were able to hang with West Branch. Most years, full talent and just coaches so well, and it really takes a special group to be able to beat him.
Yeah. Well, we got Mike on the line. Coach Tadulis. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Rich?
Oh man, I'm doing excellent. We got John Bozica here. I know you're familiar with John.
Oh yeah, how you doing, John?
Good. How you doing, Coach?
Good.
We were just talking about your big win yesterday afternoon. I'm sure that you haven't stopped thinking about it and talking about it. I'm sure a lot of people are reaching out to you about that, but let's just get to my burning question first. Have you figured out the last time Marlington has beat West Branch?
Yeah, it was the 2011-2012 season.
So I was close. Almost 10
Tom,
years.
Yeah, Tom Miller was the coach, and he had a pretty good team there. I think he made it to the district championship game, if I recall. But
yeah, they had a really good team back then with Chambers and Reed, and a couple other kids. But what did it mean? And I was at the game. I saw you after the game, and I mean, you and your kids kind of kept your cool. You didn't celebrate like it was a state championship, but you were really excited. I mean, can you kind of just go through what it meant for those kids to kind of break that streak?
It was funny. I was talking with my assistant coach on the bus ride home, and I was like, man, I was real excited, and he was super excited. Mm-hmm. And the team, it's the kind of group of girls we have this year. They're all business. And I mean, they knew, and we always do a thing. It's we do a player bio once or twice a week, and we get all the girls, up and we sit around and we ask questions about, their lives and what they like and what they don't like. And one of the questions I always ask is, what's your favorite basketball moment at Marlington? And all my seniors after the game, they're like, well, Coach, I want to go back and redo mine. I got my new favorite moment. So I was like, well, that was cool. But they also, they celebrated, but they did it kind of relaxed. But, that's the kind of group of girls we got. And I'm just so proud of them. I was super excited. It'd been a while for me. Walt had my number for quite a while over there at West Branch. So it was a good one.
Coach, is this the type of team that you think can take that next step and compete in the district and not just be a good team in the EBC, but also make noise and maybe get to a district final?
Yeah. I mean, this is, in the years I've been a head coach, this is the best well-rounded team that I've had in a very long time. We're pretty good at pretty much every position. There's some talented girls out there on the floor, and we got some girls depth-wise that can fill in too when needed. But I feel like, and it's going to be interesting too with the new districts and how they're going to be doing it. So, who knows where we'll all end up. Northwest has a heck of a team. Norton had a great win the other night, I think I saw. So, but there's going to be some teams from up in Cleveland and the Youngstown area, and who knows, it's going to be kind of crazy. In fact, I have to look over exactly how many teams are going to be in it, but it's going to be a different kind of thing. But yeah, this is as good as team as I've ever had, including the one that we went to the district championship game. So they're pretty good.
Well, I've already offended Bookdale by saying you guys in Northwest are going to be in the district championship. So hopefully, maybe you guys are all split up so I can save face and everybody gets there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's the thing too. Coaching wise this year, we're going to be able to use a little more strategy and kind of pick spots, and it'll be interesting. A lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, you guys got up yesterday. I believe it was 24-17 in the third quarter, and then West Branch came back and tied it at 24. What was the message, to the team? Most of those kids are really young, and there had to be a lot of pressure in knowing that they were on the brink of finally upsetting West Branch. What was the message to your kids going into that fourth quarter?
The number one thing we were talking about is I think it was West Branch's ball coming out, and we just wanted to get a good defensive stop, contest all shots. That's one of the biggest things we've been really harping on this year. With we have some long armed girls, especially even at the perimeter spots, 1 and 2. They're surprisingly quick and long that you wouldn't expect, and so we wanted to contest and then go down and obviously wanted to reestablish where we were at, and then we had talked about it, and we were going to spread them out once we got a little bit in the lead, make them come out of some of the things he was trying to do, and then use a little bit of our, let some of my girls go. Well, the Mason girl, she can drive through a little bit of everything. Maria Warner, she had struggled early from the outside, and I can't say enough about her gutsy shot, that 3-pointer to kind of start up the fourth quarter. That was huge. And so once we were able to build that, they forced a couple shots. We rebounded it, and then we were able to kind of, take a little, pick it away a little bit as the fourth quarter went by. So, and that was pretty much it. We were just, hey, contest all shots, rebound, and down on offense. I knew we would eventually be able to break through, and they did. So I was very proud of them.
Coach, when you look at this group this year, I know that a couple of years ago you and I talked when you had Robin on the team, and obviously now she's off playing at Malone and doing some great things there. But I felt like maybe one of the detriments to that team that year was that Robin was so good that maybe oftentimes your 2, 3, and 4 didn't step up that year maybe as much as they could have. Do you think this year, because it is so balanced, that you don't really have to worry about where the scoring is going to come from on a certain night, or is that still something you guys are thinking about?
You know what? I haven't. That you're right on with. I haven't really thought about it a whole lot. We usually we were looking more perimeter oriented those first couple years. Obviously with Campbell, and I had a girl named Bree Hoops and Olivia Lepley. They could really let it fly. And this year we still have girls that can let it fly, but we also have a definite post, presence. So we're trying to work some matchup ideas with our offenses, and get switches. And, so many teams, it seems to be the defense to go to right now is the switching man-to-man defense, as everyone's doing that. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm like, yeah, please switch us. I was like, because we're going to get, we're going to get a post on a guard, and my guards have really done a great job looking in, and then the posts are doing a good job looking out. And so, yeah, it's kind of choose your poison when you're going up against us defensively. You take away our perimeter, we're going to throw it inside. You take away the inside, we're going to be ready to throw it up from the outside. So I'm very excited with the opportunities that all these girls have for us.
Now, you guys have so far this season, and John and I were discussing before you got on. I mean, you've gotten some pretty good wins. You hung 70 points on Boardman, a much bigger Division I school. You beat Copley, Dalton, both quality opponents. And this may not be something that you thought about beforehand, but is it important to you to show people, and maybe even your own kids, that you can play a different style of basketball? For example, playing West Branch's style, you held them scoreless in the fourth quarter, held them to 24 points, and they didn't let you get up and down the floor like you like to. Is that something that's important to you to kind of show people and your players that you guys can play multiple styles?
Yeah, I think that's something. I mean, you don't want to be what's the expression, a one-trick pony. You want to be able to have some different things, and it sometimes depends how the game's going, what we're looking to do. Obviously I like to get up after people. We like to open up early, trying to get full court on people. And I think that's more establishing an energy type of thing more than anything. It's I've always said, the press isn't necessarily about stealing the ball. It's about speeding the team up. And as long as I don't give up layups, I'm happy. Now, last night I was a little upset. We gave up a couple layups early, but as a whole, it gets the girls into the game, gets them playing and forgetting about the nervousness. And so, it kind of just depends how the game's going. I haven't really thought about it a whole lot. Yeah, we're, the teams that we played this year, we were able to pick up Copley after the Lake team had to quarantine. And, it's just a wild year. And I've been telling all the girls, we're taking every game is like, we don't know if we're going to play another game. And we're just going to keep doing that. Next game's Wednesday, and that's all we're worrying about. And, staying healthy, social distancing, doing what you can so that we're ready to go.
Coach, that's an interesting thing that you bring up there, because everyone that I've talked to, one of the things that I brought up with them is saying, how do you create an atmosphere that brings kids together when it's like you're being told don't get together? So, what is the Mike's to Duelist plan at Marlington to try to bring his kids together and still make this seem like a normal year, even though it's not?
Yeah. Good question. They, like I said, we still do our team bonding things. Like at the beginning of practice, we always sit down in like a big circle. We're just a little further apart now, and I got to yell a little louder. But we'll have questions and talk, and at the most, it's kind of just the way it is at practice. The girls know once they get there that this is how it's going to be, and they kind of know my personality, and I like to have I have a great time when I'm coaching, and I try to bring the same thing to practices. We always do some fun little competitions, things that you wouldn't normally do. Like, I don't know, we'd do the bomber drill. I got that from Tom McBride back in the day, the half court shots, and just kind of, we'll do something fun to end practice. And for the most part, we're still planning on doing some of our Christmas things. Now, obviously not meeting, but we're going to do it in the social distancing sort of manner, with Secret Santas and stuff like that. Believe it or not, Henry Cobb was the guy that taught me all those things, and he was the master at really getting the girls to kind of bond together. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I've taken some of those, and sometimes girls look at me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, let's just go with it, have some fun." So I think that's just the way we coach it, and they have fun with it.
Stu, if there's one thing that I know about you, you do not have a problem being loud.
Oh no.
Those kids could probably be sitting out in the hallway and they would hear you. So don't be worried about that. Here's my question. We're going to wrap up here, but you guys have a dynamite team. I know you got to focus. You got another big game coming up on Wednesday against Salem, and that's probably just as big as the game you just had yesterday. But are we going to get a chance to see you against some of these top flight programs? I know you and I text a little bit, and I'd love to see you play some of these big time programs to see where you guys stack up. Or any chance we're going to get to see some of that if we get some games canceled?
As of right now, we have one that we're looking that has been postponed technically right now with Lake. They're looking to now. Obviously, that one is a that's. I teach at Lake, so that's one that we don't want to totally get rid of yet.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously down the road, at the point now, I've heard a lot of people are not being able to get quite as many games as they wanted. I know, in fact, I was talking to the Lake coach just the other day. He had to pick up Northwest last minute. And, hey, that's a heck of a pickup. And there's just some really good teams out there. And, whatever it is, we'll put it together. If that's not going to work out, we miss some games. Yeah, we'll be ready.
Well, I'll help you because I would love to see, maybe a CVCA or, Highland or one of those. I wouldn't even mind seeing you play one of those top tier Federal League teams. I think you guys got a heck of a squad, and I think you could definitely compete. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And we'll see how the year progresses, obviously.
And let's not ever forget that I let you beat me back in like 2011 in a JV game. So
I know. I was just lucky that no doubt.
Stu, man, I appreciate your time. Again, congratulations on the big win yesterday. And go ahead and keep that thing moving. All right.
Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. And everybody stay healthy, okay?
All right, Mike.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
All right, bye.
John, he's a heck of a dude. I really did let him beat me in a JV game way back when. That's the best team I ever had. I thought maybe he needed that confidence booster. I don't know. No, he beat me by like 40 points.
They got a squad out there this year. They got a group of girls that can get it done. And, anytime a coach is telling you that they're not really worried about where the offense is going to come from, that's normally a sign that things are working, because if you don't have to worry about a primary threat, a secondary, like if you don't have to worry about like, where am I going to draw plays up for? It's just going to come in the flow of the game. Rich, we see this every year. The teams that win state titles, the teams that win district titles, they don't worry about one kid getting their scoring. One of the things that I always admire out of Dr. Scott Rogers' team at Cincinnati Mount Notre Dame is that on any night, one of the girls that he has could be the star. It doesn't have to be that Bransford was the star or when Gabby Marshall was there, she was the one getting the points. It was basically whoever caught the hot hand that night and you just kept feeding it. And if you have a team that's built that way that can get 3-4 girls in double figures by the end of the night, you're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, and I mean he hit it on the nose. They're very well rounded. I mean, they got 2 post players, they got a great point guard, a couple shooters. So, I mean, there's no problem with that. All righty, John. We're gonna head south now. We're gonna talk some Columbus area basketball, and we have a guy on the line that you and I are both very fond of. J.R. Shoemate, the coach at Newark. How are you, Coach?
I am excellent. I'll tell you, you guys are keeping me up past my bedtime, especially on this Sunday, because last night I didn't get home till like 12:30 from that bus trip. I felt like a minor league baseball manager. And I got back up relatively early this morning to go to Toledo. I had lunch with my son and then watched my daughter play. So you guys are keeping me up past my bedtime.
You are a road warrior, let me tell you. JR, we got John Bozica here. You guys may be familiar with each other. I know he did your game a couple of years ago up at Stowe, but like I said, we're both really big fans of yours, and we admire your program, and we think that, I mean, not only do you do things right, but it takes a lot of work to maintain things the way that you guys do down there. First of all,
I appreciate that. Hi, John.
How are you, Coach?
I am excellent. Thanks for having me on. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate getting on here and talking hoops. I might be up to 11 or 12 now. You guys get me pumped up.
Oh boy, John's gonna cut me off before that. Let's go to that game yesterday. You got, like you said, you guys were all the way up in South Bend, Indiana, or near South Bend. You got I think it was a double overtime victory against the number 1 team in the state over there. What was that trip like for you guys?
Well, it was something we hadn't done before, because normally when we go on a trip like that to go play some basketball, we'll go over a day early and stay in a hotel. But, during these times, you just can't do that, or we try not to do that. I think that we'll probably be doing that when we play in the Classic in the country. But you just try not to stay in a hotel if you don't absolutely have to. So the trip was probably the first obstacle to get over mentally. I mean, I talked to the kids a lot about it, and we broke it up, and we timed it so we could stop and get lunch on the way there around noon. So we broke the trip in half, and then we got there really early, probably about 2:30 for a 4:00 game, which is unusual, especially when there's not a game before it. I guess it's not unusual, but it's unusual to get there that early and not have a JV game or another varsity game going on before it.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of, just nuanced differences in how the game was played, administrated. It was only our 3rd game. It was their 10th game. We talked about that going over, but we also approached it as a great opportunity. I mean, you're playing into a really good team, and it was low risk for us and high reward because we knew how good they were. We knew they played a lot more games. We knew we were traveling that far, so we just thought, it's like playing with house money a little bit is the way we approached it.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I know that last year you were one of, how many teams that was slated to play in Columbus and didn't get the chance to. And I know last year's team was excited about that moment. What kind of motivation did that bring into this season for this group of girls this year? I mean, you beat a team like you beat last night. That's obviously a great win, a great, program win. But what kind of expectations were there entering this year?
Well, I mean, just to talk about the disappointment of last year, I mean, we had 4 really, really hearty seniors. I mean, not only seniors that were very good at basketball, but seniors that just were great leaders and great people and very selfless. And it was, it was very difficult to have those kids and the families of those kids miss out on those experiences. And, I think coming into this season, we always try to show gratitude for our seniors. And, whether it's 1 year ago or the kids that were in the program 13 years ago, try to tell stories about those kids and get their pictures up so everybody knows what they're doing now. And just looking back on last season and how close knit that team was. We had 4 seniors last year. We had 5 seniors this year. So those kids had played a lot of basketball together, not only, in high school, but coming up through youth league and such. So coming into this year, I just think there's a lot of emotion that goes into preparing for a season like this. Given all the circumstances that surround and how similar things are right now to when we shut down, I just think it's on our kids' minds, and that they really want to make sure that we honor those kids that didn't get to do it last year.
Coach Shumate, how did, and you're the first coach that we've talked to that has experienced this. I mean, we're going to have more on in the future, but you're the first one that went through that disappointment at the state finals last year. But can you kind of tell us how did that go, and how did you find out? How did you get the message to the kids? I mean, how did that whole thing go down for you guys?
Well, I can remember. I was sitting in the office listening to Mr. DeWine speak, our governor, and I had 3 or 4 kids in there that didn't have an 8th period class because it was right around dismissal, a little bit before dismissal. And I don't remember the specifics of his announcement, but I do know that leading up to that, I think it was a Thursday, leading up to that, we thought that there was a really good possibility that we weren't going to get to play because they'd limited capacity at first, and that was a big blow to our community. And I can remember, I don't know if you've been at a Newark basketball game, whether it's boys or girls these days. I mean, our community really turns out for big games, and we played, we were down the state tournament in 15 and 17, and we had to ask for more tickets. So, I mean, we had a lot of people that were disappointed that they weren't going to get to go to the game. And, and then we're just talking about family members going. And then it went to on Thursday. I mean, there were people on the floor, as you remember, warming up. I know Tri-Valley, the high school I attended, they were just pulling in and getting off the bus, I think, entering the building for their game that was happening on Thursday. And we didn't play till Friday. So we just all sat in the locker room after we got the news on that Thursday, and we just kind of talked about it, because if you remember, it was just a postponement. It wasn't a cancellation. So we were still holding out some hope that we might get to play, down the road if things improved and circumstances changed. But there was definitely some skepticism with everybody. We got some intelligent kids, and we knew that, things probably weren't going to improve. And then the month passes, and I think it may have been even a month and a half, and we knew that the writing was on the wall and it was going to get canceled. And spring sports had been canceled. So, it was just extremely disappointing for everybody involved. But I think there was an understanding, that we were dealing with something that we just didn't know, how we were all going to respond to it. So all of our kids understood, and I think most of our families did, but just the disappointment in it was extremely visceral. And I know there were a lot of tears.
Can you, there's a lot of people that look towards Newark basketball in general, whether it's players, kids that may have played against you guys or just watched from afar, or young coaches. I know we definitely don't have enough time to go into a lot of great detail, but can you just kind of go through how you've built the Newark program into what you have, and some of the most important foundations of your program?
Well, I can tell you that there aren't many places, and a lot of the coaches in the state of Ohio, and the circumstances that surround sport today in general. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm just talking about sports in general, and the way kids are coached and the way kids are raised, and culture and community, and how that all plays in leadership in your district, and how that all plays into success of every program in a district. The community plays such a big role. And until you have that perspective, I can remember being a young coach and not really having that perspective. And I called Gene Ford. I called Scott Aaronholt, because I was in boys coaching at the time. I called Coach Quackenbush when I was coaching at Ridgewood, and I just knew something wasn't right there at the time for me. It was a great community, but I just knew that it probably wasn't going to go the way I wanted it to in terms of coaching basketball. And I can remember Coach Quackenbush, Coach Ford, first of all, got back to me, and he completely understood and gave me some great insight. God bless him. And when I called Coach Quackenbush, I was down for an interview really, really quick. And then, I was hired probably a couple weeks later, and just been very blessed to be in a community and in a school district that really values their programs, all their programs. We have a lot of very good programs at Newark, and you get the support of the administration. They let you run your program. So I think first of all, I think there are very few places in the state of Ohio now that has the combination of community and great leadership, and places where you can go coach your team and do the things that you need to do to establish a program that can be successful year in and year out. But in terms of specifics with basketball, I always talk about, I talk, when coaches ask me, I always talk about the exponents that we have. And I think one of the exponents over the past 4, 5, 6 years have been those individual workouts. The things that you can do to develop skill, where you kind of used to get farmed out, like the AAU coaches were doing it, or Joe Smo down the street who didn't know a whole lot about basketball and sure as hell didn't know what you wanted to do in terms of your skill. And now that you can do those 4-person workouts, you can develop skill the way you want skill developed, that fits your offense, that is sound. And so that was a big exponent. I think our game awards, I got it from the University of Toledo, and after every game, we celebrate, the little accomplishments. What gets put in the newspaper is the scoring, the rebounding, but every coach has their thing that they think is extremely important. And, things like deflections and steals and charges and offensive rebounds. And we have a subjective one called Spark. And, Ohio State and their football team, they give them Buckeyes to put on their helmet. We used to give them paw prints to put on their lockers, and we had metal lockers, and we got rid of the metal lockers and put in wooden ones. So we had to go to metal beads that we give them that are paw prints and basketballs. And after every game, it allows you to celebrate the how and the why and the who, and celebrate together, and kids to be grateful for their teammates for all their accomplishments. Coach Stein, who's been a longtime assistant, has done a great job with that. And the kids celebrate after every game. She gets creative. They have cups with their names on that they put them in, and then at the end of the season, they can create bracelets and necklaces. So when you play as hard as we ask them to play, it's nice to be able to celebrate after a game and understand why you're able to celebrate. It's because of all these kids and all the effort and all the things that they're doing to contribute to the finished product. I think the other exponent has been just when I was a young coach, it was always all about half court defense and half court offense. And I think one of the things where I've evolved is taking a multifaceted approach to offense. I've been curious. I've been listening. I watch coaches coach. I go to clinics, and we're better in transition, than I was when I was a young coach. I always thought when I was a young coach, how you slow it down when you're bad. You're not very good. You better slow it down. And then you turn it over more. That's dumb. So one thing that I've learned over the years is you better learn to play fast, because somebody's going to speed you up. And so, we score with our defense. We score with numbers break. We score in secondary break with some action and some, pushing it. We score in half court offense, and we're very specific about how we want to score in half court offense. We run sets and then all these specialties. So I just think that when you talk about offense, some folk there's some very successful coaches at Virginia, men's, Villanova, depending on the year, Villanova. But this year, what I've watched, they score in half court. If they're getting pressed, they get the press break. They break the press, and then they get in half court, and they score. I am of the mind, I don't care if I was coaching the best or the worst team in the state of Ohio, we would be trying to score early in a possession. And that's something early on in my career that I really didn't do a very good job of. And then lastly is just having an anchor on defense. We like to play defense aggressively. If you don't have somebody who can pressure the ball and really guard it, it's very difficult to play defense that way. And at the end of the day, when we play folks, we want them to have to use their skill. We don't want them running offense. So having somebody who can anchor that defense has been a big plus for us. We had a girl walk in the door in 2013 named Emily Paul, and she's kind of set the standard for everybody since then. She's in the Navy now. She's a tough son of a gun. And she could really guard the ball. I mean, just relentless guarding the ball. And all I have to do is go back and show some tape of her and say, why can't you do that? It was just effort. I mean, this girl wasn't the most skilled kid in the world, but she really, really played hard. And, we just try to, I think what all successful people do, just really concentrate on the things you can control, your attitude, your responses, your expectations. And that's been pretty winning combination along with having some talented kids, right? That talent matters.
You mentioned that you like to play different styles and transition. You try to get buckets out of transition, but anybody who knows Newark and JR Shoemate knows that there is a kiss of death when it comes to playing your teams, and that is once you get a lead, you are a mastermind at spreading it out and making everybody pay. They're either going to come guard you or you're going to melt the clock. They come out and guard you, you get layups. Is that something that you set out to create, or is that just something that kind of happened and now you just keep fine tuning it and it's your mark?
No, I mean, it evolved from the first, like I've been doing this now at Newark with girls for 13 years, and I've done it on the boys side for 13 years as a head coach and an assistant at Newark. And at Philo, I was an assistant there before I was a head coach at Ridgewood. And I can tell you my first probably 4 years at Newark, we played in the OCC Ohio. And we knew we were losing at least the first 2 or 3 years. We knew we were losing 8 games. We were losing to Pick North twice. We were losing to Pick Central twice. We were losing to Gahanna twice, and we were losing to Reynoldsburg twice. We just knew it going in. I mean, that's part of setting your expectations and goals. You got to figure out how you're going to beat those other 11 teams. Well, it would be 11 because we're going to have to play one of those teams in the tournament too. So that'd be 9 games against those teams, because they just dominated Central Ohio when I first started coaching girls basketball. So we knew we were losing 9 games to start the season, the first 2 or 3 years. And what was really difficult, Rich, was when you got in the half court, I was, you got to get in the scoring area to run offense. Well, if you get in the scoring area against Reynoldsburg at the time or Gahanna, you just found there wasn't much space. Like you couldn't do a whole lot. So we had to, we with our motion, and I'm a motion guy, so when we run offense, there's not much continuity to our offense. We get that out of sets. But when we just decided we had to make the floor bigger, well, I started thinking about our motion, and then I started thinking about our 4 corners, our delay, because we've always had 4 corners as a delay. Thinking, well, why aren't we doing this all the time against just about everybody? Because, like I said, the most difficult thing to do is to find one kid who can guard the ball. Well, if you have one kid that can guard the ball and you've got 4 or 5 kids that can handle it, you just put the one that can guard in the corner, and you leave the other 2 or 3 out front that can handle it against kids who aren't capable of guarding the ball. And we teach motion offense anyway, which isn't really anything that we have to talk about in terms of pattern. We're just trying to teach them how to play good basketball and drive in space and make decisions after their dribble. And so it just evolved that, when first we only had a couple really good ball handlers and everybody else was on the baseline. But, the past few years we've had multiple kids that have the skill to pass, dribble, and shoot. And so it's even more effective to be able to put those kids out front and make people guard. But you're exactly right. And I've had a lot of people say that. And I think one of the most flattering things that happened, and it's always like this, but Andy at Andy Booth, who I have so much respect for, he's a great coach, and I learned a lot from him those first few years I was in girls basketball and watching him play and playing him later on when we got a little better. I heard him calling it, like the Arizona State tournament, I heard him calling it Newark or Wildcat or something. Therefore, he put it in. I know he's done something. So that was extremely flattering. But, yeah, we really like that. I like to make the floor big and make people guard a lot of space. It just makes sense, especially when you have kids are going to make good decisions.
Yep. JR, we are going to have to move on. I want to definitely get you on here in the future, and we can go over some things a little bit more in depth, because you have so much wisdom and knowledge to pass along. So I consider you a good friend, so I appreciate that, and we're definitely going to be getting you back on here in the future, and may even see you Saturday guys play Pick Central on Saturday, so I may find my way down there. But again, good luck this year. We'll be in contact, and I appreciate everything you do for me.
Hey, same here, Rich. Really nice to be on. So thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, I'll talk to you. Bye.
John, how much knowledge does that guy have? I mean, we could literally talk all night.
Well, it's again, it's a sign of why his program is so good. You know, the great programs have a great person, a great coach on the sideline that has, you know, not just knowledge from the last, you know, couple years they can draw from, but I mean, it has a vast array of knowledge that they can draw from that's just completely different, that is, you know, unique to their program. It's part of the thing that I love. Talk to so many of the girls coaches around the county, whether it's Coach Butch or Allarding or Wackerly or Stadulis, as we had on tonight, or Coach Lauer or Coach Cobb. Each one of them has their own story. They each have their own, you know, huge, you know, background to draw from. Even Coach Bowden, only in his second year at McKinley. I mean, the resume that guy has, you know, it's pretty impressive. So, you know, it helps to have a guy like that on your sideline. It does. And teams that have someone like a Coach Shoemate are blessed.
Absolutely. We are going to stay in the Columbus area now, and you and I have talked a little bit about this matchup that we're going to preview. We now have Andrew. If I butcher your last name, I know you're a good dude. You're not going to be mad at me, but we got Coach Bobalik.
Close, Coach Bobalik.
Bobalik.
A lot worse than that.
Man, I guess I wasn't too far off. Coach, we have John Bozika here with me. He's a good friend of mine. He works for WHBC up here in Canton, and he is a huge supporter of girls basketball. Much better at what I'm doing than I am. But
how we doing, gentlemen? Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. We want to talk about this matchup, and this is a game that I'll be at this Friday. You know, I know a little bit about it, and hopefully you can tell us a little bit more. We're not gonna be too extensive, but you know, you guys play Granville. You're both undefeated. Is that right?
That's correct.
Obviously, this is, well, obvious to me, but everyone else, this is your first year. You just took over at Watkins Memorial, and the Granville coach, Tate Moore, is who you replaced. So it adds a little bit more to the rivalry in league. But before we kind of get into that, can you just, again, not in a whole lot of grand detail, but can you give us a couple of your players that we should be paying attention to?
Absolutely. I've been very blessed. This is like you said, my first year coaching girls basketball. Our team is very well-rounded, and right now we have 4 kids that are averaging double figures. And we have Jenna Lucas, which is a post player. She's about 5'11", Division I track athlete. We have Alexia Gardner, who is a junior. We have a sophomore point guard, Callie Rennie, is doing a lot of great things for us as well. And then we have another girl who is a junior, Alyssa Haynes, that's averaging double figures right now. And then we have another girl that's averaging about 9 a game, Lane Vodder as well. So those are our leading scorers at the moment, but we have a lot of kids that have been getting a lot more skillful and definitely improving their game.
Coach, anytime you coach in a rivalry game, there's extra added pressure. Teams are undefeated, knowing that, you know, there's a lot on the line here. There's even some, you know, I guess you could say, anytime 2 rivalry teams meet, there's a little bit of bad blood. How do you coach for that? How do you coach for an atmosphere like that? And even though COVID is going on, how do you still coach to make this a game that's a memorable one, that's a big one?
Absolutely. I'm trying to make sure that our kids control what they can control. And I'm hoping that we're mentally tough enough to control our emotions and control what we can control, and play the game the right way. And like I said, it's just another opponent. I know a lot of coaches say that, But in our scout, in preparation for the game, like I said, we've prepared for Granville just like we have any other team on our schedule. Obviously, they are more talented and very well coached and do a lot of great things, and it's going to be a great battle for us. But I'm making sure that our girls have their both feet on the ground, and they know that it's a tall task. And but we need to make sure that we're not putting any extra emphasis on it. And like I said, we got to make sure that we're up for every game, because if you don't play well any given night, you can be beat.
No, I mean, you definitely mentioned that you want to try to keep an even keel on things, but that's obviously going to be a extra hard this time. I mean, your kids obviously had to have some type of feelings. They had a great season last year, and then their coach leaves to go to another school. I mean, whether it's positive or negative, it's almost impossible to view it as just another game. How are you doing that with your kids? Because you're obviously with them every day. How are you trying to keep it where it's, hey, it is just another game while it's not?
Right. Obviously, I don't know Coach Moore personally, and obviously he did a great job. They had a lot of success last year, and I walked into a great situation. So I'm very, very blessed in that aspect. But with our girls, like I said, I'm a firm believer of just making sure, telling them day in and day out, like, control we can control, and do things the right way. And like I said, I try to do the best that I can. And I know if you talk to my girls after the game on Friday, they'll definitely be reiterating the things that I've said. And it doesn't matter if Coach Moore coached here last year or not. Our kids are thankful for the time and effort that he put in while he was with them. And like I said, and I'm thankful for him for putting me in the situation that I'm in right now. And we're just hoping that Friday night that our kids are mentally tough enough to control their emotions and hopefully able to compete at a high level against a very, very quality basketball team.
When I get to the game on Friday, I mean, obviously with COVID, it's going to be much different. But what kind of environment do you expect for that game?
As of right now, we have parents get two tickets each. But like I said, I mean, kids will be kids, and like I said, our schools are about 7 to 8 minutes apart. And both communities are awesome. And both schools have had success in the last 3 to 4 years, and have a lot of talent coming up. I'm actually going to the middle school game tomorrow, and Granville's 7th and 8th grade's undefeated, and our 7th grade's got some talented players, and our 8th grade is 4-1 at the time. And so I'm expecting this to be not a 1 year thing. This is definitely going to be a battle for the time that I remain at Watkins, which I'm planning on being here for a while. And with Coach Moore being there, I know that they're going to do nothing but get better and better.
That kind of leads me into my last question, and we'll get Tate on here in a second. We won't keep you guys on here together though, I don't want a virtual fist fight.
No worries.
But
no worries at all.
You've coached at the college level. You've coached
Yes,
boys AAU at a very high level. I'm not going to ask you why you chose to coach girls, because people ask me that, and I think that's the stupidest question in the world. But what led you to Watkins Memorial?
Well, I was an associate head coach at a Division II college, Wheeling Jesuit University, and they had some financial difficulties, and my position was terminated. And like I said, I had to grow up fast and had to get some insurance and make some money. So I had to apply for some high school jobs, and I ended up getting the Lakewood boys job, and I was there for 2 years and took some time off. I have some ex-players that play high major basketball professionally. So I spent some time traveling, watching them, doing some individual skill work with those guys, and had a lot of fun with it. Got to travel because people that coach basketball know how much time goes into it. And unfortunately, you don't get to do a lot of things that you would like to do, and especially during basketball season. And like I said, anybody that wants to be any good at basketball knows that there really is no off season. So I was able to do those types of things, but I absolutely love where I'm at. I love the girls on my team. They literally would run through a brick wall for me, and I would do the same thing for them. And I've really, really, really enjoyed the experience. And if you had asked me 5 years ago if I'd be coaching girls basketball, I would have told you that you were crazy. But there's honestly no other place that I'd rather be right now. And I absolutely love my team. And I'm really, really looking forward to competing this week, Tuesday and Friday night.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time, and you're somebody that I've just recently got to know, and you always shoot it straight with me, and I appreciate that, and I really look forward to coming down and catching you guys Friday, and good luck. You play Tuesday. Good luck Tuesday. Good luck Friday, and the rest of the year we'll be checking in on you.
Hey, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to meeting you face to face, and we'll be talking soon. And I appreciate you having me on.
All right, Coach. Have a good night. Thank you.
Hey, gentlemen, have a great night.
Bye.
You too, Coach.
Bye.
John, I know the coach speak is something that we hear all the time. And it's kind of hard. I mean, that's not a situation that you and I know a whole lot about. Maybe I know a little bit more, but it's got to be extremely difficult to keep your kids focused on the small things in a game when the emotions could be that high.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but when you have two communities that are that close, and you have one coach like Coach Tate, who we're gonna have on here in a second, who was there. He built a program, and then to kind of jump ship per se and go somewhere else that's a complete rival, that that leads to off-court distractions, that leads to bad blood, that just leads to things, and that stuff may not show up in like press columns, and it may not show up in conversations had throughout the week, but once you tip it off on Friday night, that all of that emotion comes back, because sports are a very emotional thing, and the fact that you're gonna go up against the guy that you used to look to most on the other side, and he's got his team playing well, that's a weird feeling. That's kind of like a piercing feeling to you, that like you don't let go of that,
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Coach Tate Moore on with us now, and Tate, before you say anything, I mean, I know that you're a professional comedian. So I expect none of your jokes to be funnier than mine.
You got it.
Can we tame that down for like 10 minutes, please?
All business here tonight.
Tate, we got John Bozica here, works for WHBC out of Canton, and another highly passionate guy about girls basketball. And we just got done talking to Coach Bobelik, and you guys have that big game coming up on Friday. Obviously you're on a different side than he is about, he's replacing you, but now you're at a different school. How are you guys kind of approaching that? And I know your kids at Granville obviously want to step up for you, and have your back, in a sense that they want to play well and win. How are you trying to keep those kids where, it is just another game?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously it's going to be a weird situation, no doubt about it. I had some great memories in that gym with some good friends, some really good players that I care a lot about. So it will be weird. But I think the interesting part from our side is our girls don't necessarily need to know all about that. It's a big game for Granville girls basketball, regardless if, I coached at Watkins or not last year. We're going into the defending LCL champions house, and they're undefeated, and they've got a really good basketball team this year with some really good players. So I would say, obviously, I'm not oblivious to the fact that it's going to be a weird game, But our concern is going to the defending league champs and trying to take it from them, not necessarily where I coached last year.
Mm-hmm. Could you, I mean, a lot of our listeners may not know much about Granville. Without going into, the top 10 or 12, could you just give us a couple of the maybe 3-4 of your impact players that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so we do play 11 full-time because we feel like we've got 11 full-time varsity players. But I guess if you made me be quick about it, I think we all start with our 4 guards. We have 4 pretty elite guards. 3 of them were all state last year: Kate Schieber, Ella Rogers, Ella Weigel. And then honestly, the 4th one, who was injured last year at the end, Lainey Heileman, might be playing the best basketball out of all of them. But we'll get up in your face a little bit. They all attack well. They all pass well. They all guard the basketball well. So our 4 guards are kind of what makes us go. But like I said, we play 11, and it definitely doesn't just stop after those 4.
Do you, I mean, this may be a tough question to answer, and I'll ask it the best way I can. What went into the change, leaving Watkins to go to Granville? Was there anything in particular, or, just, again, might be a tough question to answer, but, what made that change happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get too much into it. But I'd be very clear that it had nothing to do with the girls at Watkins or the talent level at Watkins. Or, I think it's funny sometimes people said to me that, I thought I could go win the LCL title at Granville. If I was making that decision on who could win next year's league title, that'd be a ridiculous move to move 8 minutes down the road to do that. Watkins has, I mean, they're a Division I program. Obviously we're 2, we've got some 3s and a 4 in our league. They've got 9-letter winners back. They play very hard. They're very skilled. They're very well coached. It had nothing to do with the girls. I just, a couple things happened where I felt that it was my time to go somewhere. And, obviously looking at Granville, very appealing community, very appealing, athletic director, very appealing principal, everything about it. And obviously a very talented team. So I felt, it's weird, but Granville was the best opportunity for me.
And again, a lot of our go ahead, John.
No, I would say, Coach, I mean, I know that you were there last year. You did have all of the, you knew the girls so well. You coached them for the years that you did, and you had all of that. How do you kind of allow yourself and allow the community to kind of maybe push that stuff to the side when you do play Friday night and not make that the biggest story that's going on and make it about the game that the girls are playing?
Yeah, great question. And I'm glad you asked it, because my thing here, and anyone that knows me, whether that be the Watkins girls or the Watkins coaches that I worked with last year, even the Granville girls now, know how much I value high school sports. If you take me completely out of this situation, this equation on Friday, this is a really big basketball game. These are 2 rivals, undefeated in the league, both coming off really good years, and it's going to be a fun environment. So I would hope that everyone understands that, not everyone gets to play in games like this. And our girls are blessed. I'm happy for our girls. I'm happy for the Watkins girls. This is going to be a fun night that a lot of people are going to remember. I'm excited for it. I hope it can be more about the fact that we've got 2 really good Licking County programs going up against each other. Take me out of the equation. I understand that some people are going to be upset, but take everything away from that. This is going to be a good basketball game.
And a lot of people may not know that you're actually a Northeast Ohio guy like me and John. Used to coach at Wyndham. And I know that, you and I have been friends for many years. Who are some of the basketball minds that John and I may know from this area that you've kind of learned from and always, pick their brain and kind of look up to?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a Wadsworth guy. That's where I went to school. I played for Scott Callahan in high school, who I would consider not to just be, a coaching mentor of mine, but just a mentor in general. So he was kind of my guy in high school. Then I took the job at 22 years old in Wyndham. And Rich, I know you came out to a game or 2 and saw Brittany Knight and Lexi Knight, and that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
But we actually took that Wyndham team. our seven girl team, we went to Wadsworth and practiced with Andy Booth a couple times. So whereas that team, we didn't have many girls, that's kind of where we learned the run and jump, trying to do what Wadsworth did there. And I carried that to Watkins with me. And then I carried that to Granville. So you'll see a lot of defend, rebound, and run from Scott Callahan, and you'll see a lot of run and jump from Coach Andy Booth.
Yeah, those days at Wyndham, you had some success up there too, and I got to give a shout out to Lexi Knight. That's a kid that both of us really liked, and to this day I talk to her, from time to time, and just a great kid. If she listens to this and I don't give her a shout out, she'll probably be mad.
I'm sure she'll listen at some point. Yeah, I would love to see her down here in the Columbus, style of run and jump that we have going on here now, because she was a small town basketball girl, but she could play.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, it seems like, Coach Booth oftentimes influences so many that go through his program. What is it about what he does, the way that he coaches, his system? What is it about it that seems to allow coaches, players, people to gravitate towards wanting to use it and wanting to make it the hallmark of their program too?
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys talked to Coach Shoemate earlier, and he's an absolutely incredible coach. And when you're talking best coaches in Ohio, his name pops up right away. I think Andy Booth is also the best coach in the state of Ohio. And I've got to see him work, being from Wadsworth and talking to him. What's drawn me to him, though, is his style of play, which he started at Mansfield Madison and came to Wadsworth. But I guess my thing is I want our brand of basketball to be exciting. And getting up and down the court and utilizing many girls makes it exciting for a lot of people. So you'll see, Rich, on Friday night that we're going to rotate in 11, and 1 through 5 are going to get up in your face, and then 6 through 10 are going to come in and get up in your face again. And I know Watkins is a very deep, very skilled, very talented team, and this will be our toughest test of the year by far. But a lot of teams can't face relentless pressure. For 32 minutes. And I think Coach Booth showed us that at Wadsworth when, that team won the state championship, Division I, with just constant relentless pressure. So I'm trying to mimic that down here at Granville.
Well, Tate, I want to thank you for your time. I'll be down there Friday, and you and Andrew both very, very professional guys. You guys both are approaching this game with a lot of professionalism. So, I'll be down. I'm excited to see both of you play. I know I didn't get a chance to see you at Watkins last year, so I'm excited for that opportunity, and good luck. And we'll be keeping an eye on you the rest of the season.
All right, Rich, thanks for the
Don't be
coverage.
making any barstool jokes about me.
Yeah. I'm not anymore. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, Tate. See you, buddy. John, we're ending our second show.
Yeah, I was gonna say one. I wanna leave with a final note today.
Okay.
One is that this week we'll be doing the Hoover New Philly game on our stream at WHBC, and I know that you've spoken really highly of Hoover all year, and I know that I always enjoy watching Coach Allarding's girls play, and I'm interested to see. I'm interested to go see them play, and then to come back here and to be able to chat with you about what I see with them, because I know that you're really high on them, and you feel they might be the best team in the Federal League early in the year here. So, I'm interested to watch them and see how Emily Walker has grown in another year, and see Angela Roshak and just some of the other young talent that they have. I always enjoy going out to Hoover. So my note that I'm leaving on is that I'm excited to report back to you on what I think about the Lady Vikes.
Well, I'm excited about that too. I always enjoy throwing ideas each other's way, and like you said, I'm very high on the Vikings this year. So I'm definitely excited for you to get a look at them and see what you think. Next week, can I challenge you to rate your top 5 Christmas movies and your top 5 Christmas songs, John?
I would absolutely do that. It's funny, tomorrow on my show on WHBC, one of our topics of the day is what is your favorite Christmas movie. So I will be more than prepared to talk about that.
Good. Maybe I'll listen to what your favorite is, but I want to go deeper. I want to go 5, man. There's so many good Christmas movies and Christmas songs, and I've been listening to them on the radio for too long, and I need to stop because I feel like all those commercials, man. I need to go back to my iPhone radio, but I feel like I have deep vein thrombosis and EPI and all these other medical things that they have on the radio. They need to stop with that stuff.
I was to say you go back to last year. You took down your Christmas tree and you listen to the radio stations now. They started playing Christmas music last year when you took your tree down. So they play it year round. In some senses, they start earlier and earlier every year. So you definitely get your taste of Rural Lives by the end of the year.
Usually I'm not into it, man, but I don't know. This year I don't know. I really got into it early too. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm getting old and soft in my old age, but
I think it's the COVID. I think it's getting to all of us a little bit. We're looking for comfort.
You might be right. Well, let's shoot for next Tuesday again. I know we can't do Sunday night because the Browns play, so
yeah, buddy.
We'll shoot for Tuesday again, and we'll probably, 2 days before Christmas or 3 days, whatever it is, we definitely won't go over an hour. We'll try to shorten it up for everybody. But John, as always, man, I appreciate you. Good friend. Always love talking to you, whether it's about your radio show or on this show. But we'll get some more good guests on next week, and we'll keep this thing moving. I think we're the longest running live girls basketball stream.
Hey, I give all the credit and love to you, my man, because you're as dedicated to this as anyone I know, and the state is lucky to have you for girls basketball. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Well, thanks, John. And everybody out there, thanks for listening. Be kind, do good things for others, and do not be fake. Bye-bye.